Alright, guys, continuing with Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, as it was also known as. Excuse me, still got a little sore throat or tickle in my throat. I don't know what that's all about. It was just the heat. But two things I forgot to mention in my Evil Dead 1 review was just a little, I thought was a really cool story of Tom Savini, obviously, as everyone knows, one of the greatest effects artists ever in the horror genre. Was working on the film Maniac, the classic slasher film from the 80s, one of my favorites. And when he went to the premiere in New York City for Maniac, he left the premiere after it ended, and two young kids came up to him and said, "Listen, we're making a movie. Like, they recognized him as Savini, and they said, like, we'd love for you to come up to our editing room upstairs, right, like upstairs in his apartment, and want you to check out this disintegration scene." And it turned out being Sam Raimi and Robert Tapper, which I thought was just so cool when I heard that story. And I also mentioned that about the Hills Have Eyes poster in the basement of the first Evil Dead, like the torn poster in the cellar, and that I've read a long time ago that there was like a little reference war going on between Wes Craven and Sam Raimi, and so it was bothering me that I couldn't remember like the whole story behind it. And I looked it up before I watched Evil Dead 2 a little bit ago, and it turned out that Sam Raimi put that poster for Hills Have Eyes in the cellar for Evil Dead. And then Wes Craven in oh shit, I just looked this up, but I can't think of the movie. And in Nightmare on Elm Street, when Nancy's watching Evil Dead on the TV. And then we have in why can't I remember these fucking movies, man? I just read this like an hour and a half ago. And oh, that's right. And then in Evil Dead 2, in this movie, we see Freddy Krueger's glove on the wall in the cellar, which I think is so cool that they had this little back and forth going with references to each other's films. Really, really cool. So, obviously, Evil Dead 2, 1987, directed by Sam Raimi again, the absolute genius he is, and written by Sam Raimi and Scott Spiegel, another old friend of Raimi's, who worked with him a decent amount going forward from this, and went on to make and direct the awesome 1989 slasher film Intruder, which, if you haven't seen Intruder, definitely check it out. It has two of my favorite slasher kills in the entire genre. Absolutely. And also has the same crew doing the makeup, K and B and stuff, with Nicotero and Kurtzman and Berger and stuff doing the effects in that movie, and the effects are just amazing. The kills are amazing in that movie. So if you haven't seen Intruder, I did a review on it a few weeks back, but definitely check it out. It's free on Tubi, and it is one of my favorite 80s slashers. So we got Spiegel and Raimi co-writing the movie, and we have again starring Bruce Campbell. And this movie is just straight up Bruce Campbell's film. Like, he is the star of the show in this sequel. Well, I'm gonna get into that in a second. But he is the star of the film in this movie. He is the movie. Like, this is where we meet our real Ash. Like, this is not the Ashley from the first movie. Like, he had his moments in the first movie, of sure. But he could have fit in as just any one of the 5 friends and stuff in the cabin. Like, this movie, this was Ash. This was the beginning of Ash Williams, as we know him today. And even more so in Army of Darkness was when it really became the character of Ash, the iconic character that he is today. So let's dive into it. I love the intro voiceover with giving more background on the Book of the Dead and the Necronomicon, which I even forgot in the first movie that it's not even called the Necronomicon. It's called, I can't even remember, but it has a different name in the original movie. But makes so much more sense rewatching this movie and hearing Necronomicon Ex Mortis and being like, yes, Necronomicon. All right, good. Now, this has been a debate for decades now, like pretty much ever since this film came out. Is this a sequel or a remake to or of the original Evil Dead? This is a fucking remake. This is an updated version of the original that Raimi just probably wanted to do more of what he wanted in the first film, but didn't have the budget and everything, and wanted to inject a lot more comedic elements into it. It makes no sense being a sequel. It doesn't. It makes no sense at all. Like, the fact that Ash would go through what he went through at that cabin with his four friends, his girlfriend, sister, and his friends, seeing all that shit happen and hacking up body parts and everything, hacking his friends to death, and then coming back to the cabin with another girlfriend named Linda and replaying the tape that summons these demons, which he knows all about already, and it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense at all. So the fact that people refer to this as a sequel, sorry, like, no, just no, it's not a sequel. This is a remake. This is an updated version of the original, and I don't care what Campbell retroactively has tried to say about connecting the two films together and stuff like that. And yes, I know they didn't have the rights to the first film to use the footage from it and stuff for the recap at the beginning, but no, this is not a sequel. Absolutely not. It makes zero sense, like I said. And the way I look at it is that they drive up to the cabin. There's just Ash and Linda this time. It's obviously a different actress. And the continuity in this franchise is all over the place, which I said in the remake review. All over the place. And I am big on continuity and attention to detail and stuff. Like, it annoys me most of the time when continuity is broken in sequels and throughout franchises and everything like that. But this is one of my favorite franchises of all time, so it really doesn't matter at all to me about the continuity and everything, and the rules of how the whole demonic possession works, and how people become deadites, and how to just get rid of them and cleanse them by dismemberment or by burial, and like all this shit like makes no sense and changes from film to film, and I do not care one bit. It is still absolutely amazing, this whole franchise. So apparently we find out that, let me go back to what I was saying. So, like, they're driving up to the cabin, and then he plays the tape that summons, the demons and stuff like that, which possess Linda. And this is the whole recap at the beginning is just condensing the very beginning of this film to make it real short, and then continue on with the rest of the movie. He plays the tape. She ends up getting possessed. He has to kill her, and then he gets attacked and turned into a demon temporarily, and then the rest of the movie continues from there. Like, I won't hear anything else about it. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion, like I always say, but I won't hear anything else about the matter. I won't. This is a remake, or an update, or whatever you want to call it. Ash is a great pianist, apparently. He is a great piano player. When we hear him playing piano for Linda in the beginning, never would have thought that, like, with Ash. But apparently he's a very talented piano player. We have the shot of Ash being thrown, which, as I said, people think is the continuation right from the end of the first movie of him being just thrown and flipped around and everything for so far into the woods. And man, like I said in the first movie, the review for the first Evil Dead, he went through hell making this sequel, man. So, see, there I go again. I can't fucking not say sequel because it's just so used all the time that this is a sequel. But whatever. This film, he went through absolute hell. And I said in the first Evil Dead review, I said that this guy, and especially for Army of Darkness also, but especially for this and Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell deserves an award for the most painful, the most pain-enduring horror acting ever. Like, he just, and Raimi just loved torturing the shit out of his best friend, man, which is so great. And with that whole shot with him flipping around and stuff, they had to like find like a mile or two of just straight road, and they had this whole rig set up and stuff that Bruce was harnessed to, like to the back of a crane or something, and it was rigged to like rotate and flip him around and everything like that, and just amazing, man. Like I said in the first movie, I'm not going to keep repeating it that much, but absolute genius Raimi is. And just right from the beginning with the first Evil Dead, just the way this man has every shot and camera angle and everything just pre-planned in his mind before even going near the set is absolute brilliance. It really is. Then we get apparently the sun casts out the Deadites. Like, this is what I mean with the rules always changing and stuff. Like, this is the only movie I think I have to rewatch Army of Darkness. But no, there's a lot of fucking sunlight in Army of Darkness, so that don't make sense. But this is the only film that apparently, daylight and stuff will expel the Deadite from whoever's possessed by them. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me at all. But like, again, what are the rules? I don't know. Unbelievable. But I love how the bridge is bent, like the way that it's just bent backwards and everything, like compared to the first movie when it's just broken and stuff like that. And in the remake when it's just like washed out, like this is just like complete, it looks demonically destroyed. Like how it's just like curled back and everything, the beams and everything on it. Such an awesome shot. Really, really cool. The POV tracking shot through the cabin that goes like all the way through the cabin following Bruce and everything, that one long shot of the POV and everything, absolutely unreal. Like I said, like again, every shot in this movie, just like the first one, excellent, absolute brilliance. Every shot, every frame, every camera angle, all the Dutch angles, all the camera tricks, just everything. The sound design, Campbell's performance, obviously, the special effects and everything, which look much better than the first film. Even the more stop motion that we get, animation, looks great and just fits with the tone of the film, like so well. Like we got some stop motion animation at the end of the first one with the two of them at the end disintegrating and everything like that, which looked great. And like I said, there's a lot of movies in that time period that were still using some stop motion. I mentioned Basket Case with Belial and everything, and how it really makes those scenes in that movie look just a little bit extra unique and have charm to them, and just even kind of makes it even look more creepy. Like, I love stop motion animation when it's used right. Really, really cool. And then we get more of it in the scene here when Linda comes out of the grave with missing her head and everything and starts dancing, and then her head rolls through the woods and back onto her neck and everything, and she's dancing around the woods and stuff, all stop motion, and it looks so creepy and so just weird and fits the whole possessed and demonic concept and stuff, premise of the movie. Absolutely awesome. Then we have Linda biting Ash's hand, and him just taking, like, her head is stuck to his hand, and he's just beating her head all over the walls and like tables and shit. Like, so funny, man. It's just the shift in tone through this whole franchise is just so interesting and so great to see when you watch these films back to back and everything. Just like the first film being just like a straight horror for the most part. There's some comedy, but mostly straight horror. Then you have this film, which is just a lot more comedic, a lot more slapstick. And Raimi was a huge Three Stooges fan as a kid and everything, so it absolutely makes sense that he would have all of this slapstick humor and stuff in this film. And then in Army of Darkness, it ups the ante even more, and it's even more ridiculous and slapstick and comedic and everything. And then we have the remake and stuff, which is just straight up disturbing horror, like just complete gore fest of just straight horror, the most horror that there is of any of the films in the franchise. And then we have the TV series, which is like a mix of both, again, of just horror and comedy. And just it's so amazing. This whole franchise is, as I said in the first Evil Dead review, it's just, the first movie is one of my top 5, if not top 3 favorite horror movies of all time. And this film, and especially, I rewatch Evil Dead, the first one, pretty often, like maybe like once a year or something like that. The second one, I haven't seen this in a few years. And I usually do watch it, like, usually right after Evil Dead, like once a year or something like that. But for some reason, I haven't seen it. Because I don't own it. I own the Evil Dead, the first one, on DVD. So I have a reason to pop it in every year and stuff. And this one, I don't, for some reason. And it's not on many streaming services or anything. I ended up just renting this and Army of Darkness on YouTube and stuff, so I can do these two and rewatch them. Excuse me. But yeah, just one of the greatest horror franchises ever. And after he's bashing her head around and stuff attached to his hand, and he brings her into the cellar, not the cellar, the tool shed and stuff, and puts her head in the vise and everything, and takes the chainsaw, goes to look for the chainsaw, and it's missing, and her headless body comes in, revving the chainsaw, trying to kill him, and he takes it looks like a tire iron or something, and like overpowers her, and like pushes the chainsaw, and it goes right into her neck, and splits her fucking neck apart and everything. Amazing. So fucking good. Like I said, the effects in this movie, like, still, they don't look ultra realistic or anything crazy like that, but like I said in the first review, like, it doesn't need to be. Like, this is just zany Raimi. I like that. I just thought of that just now. Just then I said, like, if there's any word to describe Raimi's style, it's just zany. It's just completely bonkers. Just like complete hilarious insanity. And this movie just ups it so much. And we have Ash looking in the mirror, and then his reflection comes out of the mirror and everything. That's a great shot. Really cool. And we meet Jake and Bobby Joe and Annie and Ed, which I really like their characters. Like I said in the remake review, like, one of my little gripes with that film is I don't care for many of the characters. I love Mia. I really like Eric. Besides that, they're fine, but nothing like phenomenal or like really, really memorable. Like, I didn't remember any of their names since I only saw the remake when it first came out in theaters, and then the other night on the rewatch. And I just remembered Mia. I remembered Eric's character, I just didn't remember his name. But the rest of them, I had no idea what their names are. Which just, that always lends credence to how memorable a character is, or a set of characters are for me. But same with this movie, Jake and Bobby Joe and Annie and Ed and obviously Ash and stuff, like, and Henrietta and stuff, like, everything. So memorable. Just amazing. And the acting, like in the first movie and stuff, nothing great, but again, it works. It just fits the film. Like, anything that would be considered subpar or like not amazing or like nothing up to par with the greater films and stuff like that throughout this franchise, it doesn't matter because it just fits the film so well. Like the gore in the first movie. And like the makeup of the Deadites and stuff like that, especially, like I said, Linda, how she looks like just like a clown, basically. But it just works. Because we don't know what these Deadites look like or what they can change into or anything like that. And I said the same thing with the gore and stuff. Like, most of like the gore of like being stabbed, like it's like when they're human and stuff, looks pretty good. The ankle stab and everything like that. But like every time we see a Deadite get chopped to bits and stuff, like Shelly and stuff, and she's squirting the milk and stuff out of her arm with the blood and stuff like that, we don't know what's inside these demonic, Deadites or anything like that. And so I can totally suspend disbelief for that. Like, and you guys know if you've been watching my channel at all and stuff, I pick apart a bunch of stupid things and little silly observations and stuff like that, but I just can't for the first movie and this movie too. Like the whole franchise basically, except the remake. I had a little field day with that the other night, but it just makes sense. Like it all just fits. And even, like I said in the first movie, he just threw everything at the wall and it all stuck perfectly. And he did the same thing with this movie. He threw even more at the wall and it all stuck perfectly. Raimi is such a fucking genius, dude. He really is. And then we get the infamous hand possession scene and fucking Ash is dealing with his possessed hand and breaking plates over his face and just smacking himself all over the place and flips himself over and dragged across the floor by his hand and everything. Just amazing. It's so great, so hilarious. And then when he just chops his hand off with the chainsaw and everything, it's just hilarious and just fucking brutal, man. Like, imagine just like having to severing your hand off with a chainsaw. Like, no, is the answer. No, I cannot imagine. But let's see, like the whole sequence with the hand afterward and stuff when he's trying to kill it, and the famous scene with the flipping them off and stuff, and then running into the wall, and then him trying to shoot it with the shotgun and everything, and then just the gallons of fucking blood that comes just from shooting this little hand. Or, I mean, it could be as well. It's just, the whole cabin is possessed, basically. So it could just be that, because we see blood coming out of, like, other holes in the walls and stuff like that he tried shooting through. But the way I always saw it was that he shot this hand, and it's just gallons and gallons of blood just shooting all over his face and everything. And that's just pure Raimi, man. Just the over-the-top, completely overboard of blood and gore, like even in Drag Me to Hell, which I love to death too, that movie. A little CGI heavy, but that was his return to horror. And I'll definitely be reviewing that soon. I love Drag Me to Hell. And just the whole scene when Christine's in the bank and she gets the nosebleed and stuff, and she's like touching her nose and trying to stop it, and then it just not even just like it sprays the fuck out, like it's just like so much blood that just like you don't have that amount of blood in your nose like what to be coming out from a nosebleed. It's just pure Raimi. It's just pure amazingness, and it is just pure genius. It really is. Probably my favorite sequence in this movie, and the reason that the icon thumbnail for this video is what it is when the whole cabin starts coming alive and the deer head and everything. I love that shot, man. All those shots of the deer head coming alive and being possessed with the white eyes and cackling and laughing, and then the lamp is bending up and down and laughing, and just then the whole the whole cabin and stuff just starts like everything starts moving and laughing, and just what an amazing sequence, man. It's so fucking good. Just my favorite sequence in this movie by far. And there are so many great sequences in this movie, but that whole scene right there, absolutely my favorite in this film. And we get Ted Raimi, little brother Sam, who we love so much, as the iconic Henrietta, and the whole eyeball into Bobby Joe's mouth and stuff, that was hard to shoot, man. They had to, if I recall, that was like a reverse shot. So they had like the eyeball on like a stick or something like that, and it was in her mouth, and then they pulled it out, And she had to actually like act backwards and stuff. Like once the eyeball came out, she had to pretend like it was coming towards her and stuff. Then they reversed the shot, and when it came into her mouth and stuff, then they got the shot that they got, which is that's hard to do, man. Like to act backwards like that. And Bruce is amazing at doing that too. Like he is amazing at doing like backwards acting and stuff like that. Kind of like Michael Anderson, the dwarf from Twin Peaks, how he just had a natural ability to speak backwards and would teach the other cast members how to speak backwards, and then they would reverse that to get the weird, surreal, phrasing of words and stuff when in the Red Room and everything like that in the Black Lodge. Similar, it always reminds me of that. And just the whole design of Henrietta is just amazing. And the way that Ted, just plays off of that and plays that character, so good. So good. And Henrietta is absolutely iconic at this point. Like, probably my favorite demon in this whole franchise. Favorite Deadite in the whole franchise. By far. So good. And then we get Ed's possession and his line and stuff with Dead by Dawn and everything, which is why this was also known as Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn and everything. And Ash chops him to pieces, and then we see green blood shooting all out of him and stuff, which leads back to my point of the first film, that we don't know what's inside of these Deadites and these people when they're possessed by these demons and stuff. We have no idea. And this just gives more credibility to that. It's just green shit fucking flying all out of them and everything. So it definitely makes sense, for people who, for some reason, don't love this movie or this franchise and say, oh, the gore looks terrible or looks stupid or doesn't look realistic and stuff. It doesn't fucking have to. It works so perfectly with the film and these films and just the whole premise and concept and everything. It just works so well. Excuse me. And then, speaking of special effects and everything, we had from the great Mark Shostrom and everything that was basically supervising Nicotero and Kurtzman and Berger and stuff, when this was their second film they worked on after working under Savini on Day of the Dead. And they went on to, obviously The Walking Dead and everything, but they did a lot of stuff after this. They came back for Army of Darkness. They did Nightmare on Elm Street 5. They did Halloween 5, Dances with Wolves. They even did stuff with Tarantino for Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill. It goes on and on. These guys had a great career that led to just a complete breakout with Chronicles of Narnia they did, and then obviously The Walking Dead, which absolutely catapulted them in the business. But they've always been amazing, just a great special effects team. This is a small little thing I always notice, but I absolutely love Campbell's eyebrows. Just the way that he's able to make this side of one eyebrow come up like this, I can't do it, so I'm not even gonna try. But in a lot of the scenes and stuff, he'll just have this one part of his eyebrow just come up like that and stuff. So yeah, both come up when I try to do it. But the way he does that is just, I don't know, there's something about it. It's just charming, man. It's just and just his facial expressions, everything, his whole performance, and not even just his performance as Ash, just him as a fucking person. Bruce Campbell is one of my favorite people ever. Ever. Just such a great fucking man, in every way. And we get the tree scene with the tree faces and stuff like that. That's a cool little touch. And when they go looking for Bobby Joe after she gets dragged off and stuff, and she went through hell. Everyone went through hell too, filming this movie. The same with the first movie, especially fucking Bruce for this movie. Like I said, Sam just loved torturing him, and even Army of Darkness even more. He would have him dance like a chicken and just tell him to do all this weird shit and stuff, and then just look down at the assistant director or the cameraman and be like, yeah, see, I can get him to do anything. He would like film scenes of Campbell just like completely torturing himself and beating the shit out of himself, and then just like never even use the scene in the movie, like just to torture his best friend. Like, that's so hilarious. That is so fucked up, but it's so hilarious that they have a friendship like that, like I said in the first movie. And Dead-Eyed Ash looks so cool in this movie. I love the makeup on him when he's a Deadite. Like, it looks really, really cool. Like, because you could still see, like, Ash in there, but he's a Deadite. So it's like you still feel for him, and you still, like, want him to succeed and to get through all this and defeat the evil and stuff. It's just, the makeup, though, looks so good on him. And then we have Annie stabbing Jake with the Kandarian dagger and drags him into the other room. And same thing with her, man. She had to do that shot like 6, 7, 8 times. And Jake, I mean, Dan Hicks was a pretty big guy back then. I didn't even realize or remember because, like I said, in Intruder, Scott Spiegel's slasher film from '89, Dan Hicks is in it. And he is so much skinnier in that movie. And that was what, only 2 years after? This was 87, that was 89. The 2 years later, he lost a lot of fucking weight, man. Like, I didn't remember how big he was in this movie. And she had this poor actress that could, like, lift this big man up and carry him across the floor. And not just for a take, like 6, 7, 8 takes and stuff. She was like exhausted by the end of this. Like, Raimi just tortures everybody in his films. Like, it's so awesome. We have a great scene with Henrietta from the cellar grabbing Jake head first into the cellar, and then just it was 40 or 50 gallons of blood that they used, and just spraying everywhere out of the cellar and stuff. And Dan Hicks almost died doing this. Like, I keep saying, like, everybody is tortured making these Evil Dead movies. Like, he almost died because he was saying that since he was upside down, like in halfway in the cellar, and that's where they were spraying this 40, 50 gallons of blood from, something went wrong, that like it wasn't being propelled completely out of the cellar and it was splashing back, and since he was upside down, it was going all in his nose and everything, and he almost fucking suffocated and shit on all this fake blood, like, and died. Like, that's fucking crazy, man. Like, but just the performances that Raimi can get out of all of his actors and actresses to make the movie he wants and needs to make, and the way that he pushes them and just tortures them a bit, like, you know, a bit to a fucking shit ton when it comes to Campbell, is just amazing. It's just pure genius. And we have the iconic shot of Ash putting the chainsaw on his stub where his hand used to be and sawing off the double barrel shotgun, and that's the first time we see Ash with the chainsaw on his stub, the double barrel in the other hand, and we get his first groovy, just absolutely iconic scene, man. Him and his boomstick and chainsaw. And yeah, those pages are destroyed, right? Like, that makes no sense. When Jake throws him down the cellar and everything, and then after that is when we get the scene with Henrietta dragging Jake down there, and we get all that blood shooting out of the cellar and down into the cellar, and then there's mud down there, like puddles of mud and stuff like that, like the band back in the 90s, Puddle of Mud. Man, I haven't heard them in forever. There's no way these pages are just like perfectly intact. They would be soaked in blood. They would be soaked in mud. They would be there's no way that those pages were fine. They were fucking destroyed. Like, absolutely. Jake's skeleton when Ash goes into the cellar, really cool looking, really cool prop that they use there. And of course, like I said, the pages are completely fine and readable and everything. Especially when these pages are from the Necronomicon and they're written in blood. Then they're being like soaked with blood. I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me. And then we get Henrietta twirling above Annie while she's grabbing her hair and everything, floating above her and twirling around and shit. And then just the stop motion animation, man, of her neck elongating and stuff into just like that long ass neck with the face on the end. Oh, it's so fucking good, so good. And then we have when Ash just hacks her head off and stuff, and then it falls to the ground, and we get another just iconic line from this franchise: "I'll swallow your soul, I'll swallow your soul, I'll swallow your soul," and he just swallow this, and blasts her fucking head apart. Like, that's probably my favorite line in this whole franchise. Henrietta doing "I'll swallow your soul," like probably my favorite line in the whole franchise. It's so infamous. It's so often quoted. It's so iconic. Just amazing. Then we get the shot of the physical embodiment of this evil and stuff, and coming through the door, and the trees are breaking into the cabin and everything, and like we see Ash's reaction, and the flowers just melting behind him. And then other great ideas and stuff from the crew members and stuff. They were behind, off camera and stuff with like blowtorches, torching these flowers behind Campbell and stuff. And that's how they got the effect of the flowers like quickly dying and stuff like that. Like, just so many amazing, like I said, camera tricks and angles and shots and the effects and just everything. Like I said in the first movie, like everything about this movie, it just works for me 1,000%, and it's just absolutely brilliant. And then he puts the chainsaw in the demon's eye, and then again, like leading to back to my point earlier about not knowing what's inside of these things and stuff, and the blue substance and blood or whatever starts squirting out of the eye and everything. Again, we don't know what's inside these things, and the gore just works because of that. Like, it doesn't have to look crazy realistic or anything. It just works with the whole idea of these being ancient Kandarian demons, which we have no idea what they're capable of or what they are full of or made of or anything like that. It just works so well. And then we have the ending with the rift opening after Annie manages to read the second incantation before she she dies from getting Bruce's hand still on the loose with the Kandarian dagger in her back. And we get the rift open, sucks the car and the trees into the rift and the demon and everything, and we have Bruce, Ash gets sucked in as well, and just ends up in the Middle Ages with the knights and everything around him that think like he's a Deadite and they want to fucking kill him. And then we get that really cool, like, bat-looking Deadite demon and stuff flying, and I keep saying Bruce, like, I can't think of him as just anything but Bruce Campbell, man. Like, but Ash just picks up his shotgun and just blows this thing's fucking head off. And the great prop too is that whole flying demon and everything, and the animation for it. Really, really cool. Then he just gets hailed as the hero, and that's mentioned in the Necronomicon. The hero will fall from the sky and defeat the evil and stuff, and just hail the guy from the sky who's going to save us and everything. And Bruce is just Ash is just completely no, I'm not the hero, no. And just amazing, man. And then I also think it's interesting that they call them Deadites back then. So this must be in the Necronomicon. They're called Kandarian demons on the tapes that we hear in the first and this movie. So the term Deadite must be in the book, right? Because this is 1300 AD or something like that. 13th century, something like that, in the Middle Ages, and they refer to them as Deadites. So I always thought that was interesting, and yeah, they just hail him as the hero and just hail to the king, baby, and just what an amazing fucking movie. As I said, I go back and forth between this one and the original as just being just absolutely brilliant in every way, just from the performances, especially, Camel and stuff, and just what he puts himself through for these movies, to all of Raimi's genius, the camera work, the angles, every fucking frame, fucking the effects, the atmosphere, the sound design, just everything is phenomenal about these movies. And it's been such a pleasure rewatching them, and I can't wait to watch Army of Darkness. I will be watching that in a little bit, and I will have the review up for that and discussion for that up a few hours a little later tonight. But thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys soon.